I think it's fair to say that Destiny's Child was always Beyonce and that the group was always catered to her.
Let me cater to you, 'cause baby, this is your day. Anything you ever want, let me cater to you. It's like if it wasn't for Tony. Oh.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be a piggyback of my last video, the decline of female R&B groups. And in that video, I told you I was going to go in depth about certain groups and make specific videos about certain groups. Destiny's Child was one of those groups, and this is that video. Hey, before people get riled up, before y'all get mad,
fine. You're stuck.
this is not going to be no bashful video against Beyonce or shaming Beyonce for being the favorite. This is going to be a celebratory video, but it's also going to be an analytical video and an observational video with that whole, how does that whole thing of being the favorite affect Beyonce? How did it affect Beyonce? How did it affect Kelly and Michelle? How did it affect Latavia, Latoya, and Farrah? In essence, I just want to do this video because we all know that Beyonce's latest album recently came out, Renaissance Part 1. And, you know, stay tuned. I'm going to give my quick review on the album, and it's all going to tie in to what I'm saying. But I just feel that the group was always catered to Beyonce, and the group was built as a stepping stone for Beyonce's solo career. The group was that practice for Beyonce to be a solo artist. Do y'all agree with me? Do y'all agree with me? The group was created and molded for Beyonce to be the star. So when she eventually went solo, it was like, oh, okay. Now it's just her without the other two. Now it's just her without the other three. Tell me, do y'all agree with me?
I can see it in the way you look.
And now Beyonce has made it to a level and a status where she's untouchable.
It doesn't touch me.
She has like at least 28 Grammys now, and she's like a celebrity's celebrity. She is a legend. She made her mark. She left her mark. She still has more to do. She just came out with a new album, and we're gonna talk about that. Like I said before in my previous video with the decline of female R&B groups, a part of that is having a lead singer, having a leader, whereas like so much focus and favoritism and such a pedestal is put on that leader that leaves the other two feeling isolated and sidelined and third-wheeled. Call it what it was. Let's just call it what it is. Beyonce was the perfect lead. You know, she was the main ingredient for the group. You know, you have macaroni and cheese. Beyonce was the cheese. You know what I'm saying? This is editor me stepping in. I'm going to be showing some clips and referencing some things I said in the last video. So if you haven't seen it, you might want to check it out. Beyonce was a perfect lead, and Kelly and Michelle complemented her well as a group aesthetic. Even Latavia and Latoya back then, but this group still soared without them, showing that Beyonce was always the key component. But then that raises the question, if Beyonce wasn't so pushed to the front, if she wasn't the lead, she wasn't always in the middle, she didn't always have the lead verses and singing the chorus, would she have still stood out? I believe so, because Beyonce just had that it factor. She had that je ne sais quoi. She had that, you know, whether she was in the forefront, in the middle, in the basement, in the attic.
Come on, bitch.
She was going to stand out because she just had it. Not to say that Kelly, Michelle, like not to say that the other group members didn't have it, but Beyonce just had it. And even when they was girls' time and they were younger, little girls and still in middle school, high school, the vocal coaches and everybody just said that Beyonce had it. That thing where Beyonce had it, and you see how her solo career took off. That leaves Kelly and Michelle, which they were the most popular version of Destiny's Child, I believe. That leaves them feeling slighted, especially Michelle feeling third wheel. If y'all remember that clip I showed y'all last time of Michelle explaining how she knows she wasn't the favorite.
Was second guessing. I'm just aware You know, some people are like, oh my gosh, it's stuck. They said it stuck with her. No, it didn't stick with me. You know, just sometimes you're aware that you're not everybody's favorite. And that's okay. I still got paid. Okay.
Michelle said she was still getting paid. I feel like some people or some fans expected Michelle to be like, oh, God. But Michelle was living a dream. She was living a life. She was making money. And I feel like she was in a predicament like,
With that, shoot, let Dina do all the work for change.
they want Beyonce to do all this and do all the work, and okay, she might be the favorite. I'm still getting these paychecks. Whatever. But now we get to the point where it's like, after so many months, so many years being in a group and contributing all you have, or all you are able to, and then seeing like that certain one getting all this attention and all this love and all these accolades, and all these years later, after her contributions, it's the whole poor Michelle trend. There was a whole Twitter page, a whole Instagram page dedicated to how Michelle was basically the third wheel in Destiny's Child. And it was just so, you know, people made fun of it. It was, some things were funny, but then it's just like, wow, it's really bullying to a point where it's like, man, in favor of Beyonce, people will tear down anybody, even her own group members, her sisters. And it's just like, that makes me think of like, when I see Janet Jackson and Michael Jackson fans fighting and debating, and I'm just like, y'all supposed to be on the same page. What's going on? And another thing, bringing it back to Beyonce being the favorite, or it's like Beyonce was the leader, right? It was that clip I told you about when the guy went to a Destiny's Child signing, and he went straight up to Beyonce. It was like, oh, I only want you to sign it. And Beyonce looked, it was like, she still passed it to Kelly and Michelle, and Michelle and Kelly was like, whatever. I'm gonna show y'all.
I'm good.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just yours.
All right.
Cheers.
You do. Thank you.
You see what I'm talking about? And then let's bring it to Wendy Williams. And y'all know how big of a media mogul Wendy Williams is now. She was back then, but it was through radio. And Beyonce called in on a show, whatever the case was. And Wendy Williams always referred to them as Beyonce and the girls. Basically, like, Beyonce was the leader and the other ones didn't really matter. Even Beyonce had to take up for them.
I'd heard at one point that you all, you know, Destiny's, Beyonce and the girls, that you all weren't allowed to perform and do a lot of stuff.
I'm sorry, can you please not call us Beyonce and the
I
girls?
have to.
Because that is definitely an insult to Kelly and Michelle.
No, I like them, but the attention stays on you. It does.
I don't think the attention stays on her, Wendy. I do think the fact that as a lead singer, well, like she said, when you look at any group, then of course, I mean, it's based on ability. And you can't even sit up here and say Beyonce.
So you see how exhausting that could be? For Beyonce to be the favorite one, but for her to feel like all of this, like, oh, it's a great feeling to be the favorite one, but it's like, you almost feel like now she has to feel bad because Kelly and Michelle are getting slighted and ostracized and underrated and undermined and thrown to the side. And it's like, oh, Beyonce and her background dancers, Beyonce and her background singers, oh, Beyonce and etc. Just think about it.
You think you know, you have no idea.
Going back to the beginning, when I said how Beyonce was always the cheese to the macaroni, she was always that extra boom. She gave the group the extra. And y'all know what I mean when I say extra. Because y'all know when Beyonce performed live, solo, she's extra. But back in Destiny's Child, when it came to the singing, she was really extra.
Of all the things you are, serve you, baby. Woo! Say, my daddy say, no, 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 no. Just make it.
Oh my God.
I mean, come on. I feel like Beyonce is going to be 60 years old still being extra. But it worked for her then, and it sure is working for her now. being extra and doing all the runs and that overselling of the vocals and showing how much you can do with her dancing. Being extra is what got her to where she is now. It's what got her to the status she's at now. You know? We know about Destiny's Child and the history, and this is not gonna be no history of Destiny's Child. If you watching this video, you should know their history and all they went through and the accolades and this and that and the drama. This is more like a thing where it's like, you know, Beyonce is where she is now, which is great, especially as a black woman in the music industry. But it's like, I feel like Beyonce always got her roses. She always will get her roses. But I feel like when it comes to Kelly and Michelle, or even Latavia and Latoya, they only get the stems, if that. Beyonce got the tulips, the lilies, the daisies. And Kelly and Michelle, nowadays, and Latoya, they just get the little stem that might have a leaf on it, it might have a thorn on it. You know?
And that pisses me off.
And I feel like it's time for all of them to get their flowers, all what they contributed to that group. You know, they might not have been the favorite, they might not have been the lead singer, but they all contributed to that group. Because, like Michelle said, you know, you can tell when you're not the favorite. It's this certain thing of just being observational, having common sense, and having social intelligence, emotional intelligence, when you can just tell that even at work, in your friend group, at school, or just out and about, how people perceive you compared to others, how people perceive you in a group, you know? And Michelle and Kelly, I'm pretty sure many times they knew Beyonce was the favorite. Beyonce was the leader. And it's even now a common phrase to be like, who's the Beyonce of the group? Who's the Beyonce of the family? And so many words, it's like being the Beyonce of something, or being the Beyonce of a group, or being the Beyonce of your friend group. That's like being the most established. That's like another way of saying you're the most accomplished one. That's how far this goes. Y'all know what I'm saying? Some of y'all watchers know what I'm saying. But then, hold on, I'll raise another question. Y'all know how in the 90s, right? Yeah, like I said before, I feel like the group was a stepping stone for Beyonce's solo career, for her to work her way up, and for her to have this practice of being on stage and doing the music videos. But she had this one and that one on her side. But it came to a point where she was doing so much of the leads and being extra that when it came time to do it by herself, it was just, okay, instead of Latoya or Latavia, instead of Michelle or Kelly, it was maybe a background dancer, or maybe, you know, the guy she's dancing with for a routine, you know? She had gotten used to it because she was always the leader anyway. That's why I raised the question. Do y'all think Beyonce would have been successful coming out as a solo artist in the 90s? What y'all think about that? I asked this before in a video I made like 2 years ago. Do y'all think she would have been successful coming out as a solo artist instead of coming out in Destiny's Child? Like, I know how Aaliyah, Usher, Brandy, Monica, Maya came out in the 90s as solo artists, and Aaliyah, Brandy, Monica, Usher, they were like 14, 15. Do you think Beyonce would have been successful as a 15-year-old coming out in the music industry in the 90s? Let me know down below what y'all think. I always wondered what other people thought when it came to that. Because a lot of people like to forget that Beyonce came from humble beginnings, you know? It's not to say that, oh, she was doing so bad and then she just rose up. But it wasn't always such a success. It wasn't always a Grammy every award ceremony, you know? She had to work her way up. But she had to work her way up from a group. She didn't start solo. But then a lot of people say she used her group to mold the Beyonce she is today. And I agree. What do y'all think about that? And another thing I want to add, giving Kelly and Michelle their flowers, I feel like Kelly, her voice just had a clearness to it. Her voice had a sharpness to it that was very distinct, but, you know, she had her own personality to her voice. And Kelly always was amazing. Kelly always did great. But like she said in her song Dirty Laundry, and as many people would say now, you know, she was always in Beyonce's shadow, because Beyonce always did the extra to, in so many ways, outshine them. Give or take. What do y'all think? And even Michelle, I want to give Michelle her flowers too, because I feel like Michelle had that distinct raspiness to her voice, and she could take it to church, she could take you gospel, give you that, you know what I'm saying? Even young, like with T-Boz had that distinct tone to her voice, Michelle had that distinct tone to her voice. And is it me, or did Michelle have some of the best verses in some of their most popular singles? I'm talking Catered to You, Lose My Breath, Soldier, Girl. Michelle has some of the best verses.
Strength will take. That's the least I can do. The ups and the downs, I'll still be here for you. Your love shines through. I wanna cater to my man.
But then let's talk about how Beyonce pulled a Michael Jackson, and even remember when Michael Jackson, Thriller, went crazy? Best-selling album of all time, and even at that time it was the best-selling album of all time, and it still is over 30 years later. But then he still decided to go back with his brothers and do another album just because. Beyonce went solo with Crazy in Love and the Dangerously in Love album. That was a major success. She got Grammys and #1 hits. And then she still decided to go back for the Destiny Fulfilled album, which I feel is their best album. Let me know down below. What do y'all think is Destiny?
Wait a minute, hold on.
What do y'all think is Destiny's Child's best album? I think their best album is the Destiny Fulfilled album. And am I the only one who, with the album cover for Destiny Fulfilled, I was surprised to see that Michelle was in the middle. And I was like, okay, all right. You see Beyonce's on the side, peeking in. I'm like, that was an interesting choice. Why do you think they did that? So that goes to show that Beyonce really did have love for Kelly and Michelle, and she really did have love for the group and being a part of history as a girl group, you know? But, you know, that was their last album they did together, and you could just see that they did it, and it was like that last thing was, okay, we're gonna come together one last time. They broke some more records, got some more Grammys, got some more #1 hits, had some more success, sold some more millions, and then they all went about their business. Speaking of the group being catered to Beyonce, I feel like Beyonce was held to a certain standard. Even after the group, when she was solo, her music, where you had B-Day, which I feel like is Beyonce's best album. There's another question. What do you think is Beyonce's best album? I feel like her best album is B-Day. Then she had 4, and then she had Lemonade, and then Beyonce, and now she has Renaissance. And with this new album, we're going to segue into this new album, Renaissance Part 1. It's a drastic change from the Beyonce we knew from the Crazy in Love days, from the B-Day days, you know, the empowerment songs and the fun songs, and it's like a different Beyonce. But like I talked about in a lot of these previous videos, it's not 2003 anymore. It's not 2011 anymore. It's 2022. Beyonce has always been great with keeping up with the trends and the latest sayings and the latest this and that to get her fans like, oh, Beyonce said this? Oh, Beyonce know about this? Oh, you know? And that's what this album is. And I feel like she's great at catering to a certain demographic, or should I say demographics, if you know what I mean. And this album is a major departure from that golden era Beyonce. I feel like the 2004 to the 2006-07 era, I feel like that was Beyonce's best era. The B-Day era, I feel like that was her best golden era. But, you know, a lot of people like the song, and, you know, it's interesting. Today at work, some of my coworkers was talking about it, and they was like, oh, I didn't really like it. Oh, I like some songs. Some people was, oh, I don't like 2 songs. Some people were saying, oh, it's a nice album to like dance to, but I wasn't really feeling some of this, and I don't know why Beyonce tried to do this. And it's just like, I feel like it's Beyonce experimenting. Even with the Break My Soul, with that, I was like, okay. I remember when it first got uploaded on YouTube, and I clicked on it, and I was like, okay, this is different for her. It had like that house music thing, but she still had like her Beyonce touch to it. It was different, but I still liked it. Those like fun records, and then she had the emotional records. Although it's a departure from that, I feel like it's an interesting segue. And I'm interested to see how this era ends up for her, you know? And I feel like being that she's Beyonce, being that she's held to such a standard, she has the room to experiment like that compared to if it was Michelle or Kelly, you know? She made it to a point in her career where she doesn't have to do all this promo and go on interviews and do the talk show segments and da-da-da. Her posting a tweet, her posting an Instagram teaser, that's enough promo.
Is that all you two can think about?
Yeah.
She doesn't have to go on an extensive and tiring promotional tour. She's made it to the point where she's at such a pedestal where her work promos itself. It's Beyonce. Duh. Like, that's the attitude. Anything she does, any new song, it's gonna trend. Any new artist that gets a feature from her, that's like a grade A accomplishment. She's at that point. She's at that status. But overall, I feel like the album is interesting. Is it an album that I'm gonna keep listening to? No. Is it an album that's gonna make my top 10 on my year-end Spotify list? No. But it was an interesting listen, you know? But is it me, or I feel like every other song, Beyonce was like really pushing it. And she was like cursing more and doing this, and every other song it was like daddy daddy, body body, like all this different things. I'm like, all right, Beyonce, okay, all right. In the certain songs, I was like, you know, grooving to it. And other songs, they'll be like, yeah, body, daddy, daddy, bigger ups. It's like, okay, interesting. My word for the Beyonce album is interesting. What were y'all thoughts? Did y'all listen to Beyonce's album? What were your favorite songs? What were your favorite tracks? What do you think of the album? What do you think of this era? What do you think of this new direction and experimenting Beyonce did with this album? Do you like it? Do you think she needs to go back to the drawing board? Like,
Hang it up, flat screen.
what were your overall thoughts of this new Beyonce album that she just released? Going into my opinions about Destiny's Child catering to Beyonce and being a stepping stone for Beyonce's solo career, do y'all agree with me? I'm pretty sure most of y'all will know where I'm coming from, but there will be those people that's like,
Now, you done pissed me off.
It's kind of the truth. It is the truth. And what about the topic of the position that put Beyonce in as being the favorite, and Michelle and Kelly, and even back then LaToya and Latavia as just the sidekicks or the other ones? Because it's the stigma with that too. Look through these comment sections of whatever, videos, Twitter, and somebody says that Michelle was a favorite, somebody says that Kelly was a favorite, LaToya was a favorite. Some people will beg to differ and be like, oh, you just lying. You know Beyonce was your favorite. Oh, Beyonce was the best one. Beyonce was this, Beyonce was that. It's just like, it's to the point where people don't believe that another group member could have been somebody else's favorite. Like I said in my last video, Beyonce might have been the popular favorite, but that don't mean that she was everybody's favorite, you know? If y'all had a favorite member, who was your favorite Destiny's Child member? For me, I can say that I really didn't have a favorite. I just remember Beyonce being the forefront and being pushed, and you know, she had the looks, she had the singing ability, she had that she had the fierceness, she had that, you know, she had it. But I do remember liking most of Michelle verses the best when it came to like the music videos and like their singles. I feel like Michelle had some of the best verses. So I didn't really have a favorite, but I like what they all contributed to the group. And I'm talking about even back then, like, you know, when it was like 4 of them and then it went to 3. Anyways, guys, that was just my take on Destiny's Child as a group and with all the different things that came with it, right? I just want y'all to let me know, who was your favorite member? What are your favorite Destiny's Child songs? What are your favorite Destiny's Child singles, music videos? Segueing into this new Beyonce album, did you like it? Did you not? Why or why not? And let's get this discussion started. This should be a really interesting discussion. I know it's so many topics I threw at y'all, but we always get it together in the comment section, and I can't wait to interact with y'all. Please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching and listening. I'll see y'all in the next video.
We your girls, won't you know that we love you?